Hey y'all, it's Kobe Rice, and I'm back again for another weekly creative podcast. Except apparently this time it is not weekly. Again, I'm sorry about that. I've just been busy, not too busy to record this. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie that I've just been drowning in stuff. So I didn't have time. That's actually not the real story. The real story is that when I'm kind of in the zone and doing my thing, sometimes doing a podcast smack in the middle of that kind of interrupts all of that. So I'm actually coming to you guys before I've started any real sort of work today, by the way, which is Monday, July 30th, 2018. And welcome back to the epic fantastical journey of a Black female sci-fi writer. I am Kobe R. Rice, novelist, TV writer, screenwriter, filmmaker, director, producer, game designer, narrative designer, like all these other things. Apparently soon to be fashion designer, which we'll get into that later in the podcast. But I wanted to welcome you guys back to the podcast. This is podcast number... Wait, what number is this? Let me check to see what number podcast it is, so I'm not on here looking like a hot mess. Number 78. All right, let's just get it together, Colby. Get it all the way together. And as you can tell, I'm actually in a really, really good mood. Things are going just really well on many, many fronts. No complaints. I mean, and it's not that anything major has been going on, except for the fact that I did release independently the Camille standalone story from the box set 2054. So you guys know that we recently released a cyberpunk kick-ass box set called 2054, which hit 6 Amazon bestsellers lists. Yay! So that's my first bestseller accomplishment. And as a part of that box set, I wrote a novella called The Camille, which is included. But now I'm releasing that novella independently as a standalone on Amazon.com and KU exclusively and specifically. So if you guys want to pick up The Camille and you're interested in just checking out only that story, it's definitely available at Amazon.com. I will give you a link so you can go and check it out. And if you're in Kindle Unlimited and you're a subscriber of KU, then you will be able to read that for free, which is awesome. And I have actually, because I'm on that topic, I've gotten into thinking more about how I'm going to treat the Camille, release it, and market it. And I have pretty much decided that I'm going to spend the next 6 months to a year working on it, including tweaking the first story and updating that and turning it into like a fully fledged standalone episode, which it kind of already is, but I need to make some tweaks to it. But I will be working on that in addition to all my other projects for the next 6 months to a year. And then probably as of either May or June 2019, I'm going to do a rapid release of the Camille in its entirety. So there are going to be 5 seasons in total, which I told you guys a few podcasts ago. And each season is going to have 10 episodes. So the Camille will be 50 episodes long as a serialized novel series. And so there will be 10 episodes per novel, 5 novels in total, 5 seasons in total. And just like a not even a season, but just like an entire TV series, it is going to be released per week. Each episode of the Camille from episodes 1 through 50 will be released in rapid succession. Week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way up to the last week and the last episode. So that's how I'm going to treat that. I'm really excited about where that project is going. And that's all I'm going to say about it for now, because there are a lot of other things I want to talk about. But that is what the Camille is going to be about. It is a cyberpunk, dark, noir, gritty sort of series, but also with a lot of female leads, badass women just all over the place. Some very interesting issues that I don't really see handled in science fiction, particularly in cyberpunk. So as I mentioned to you guys last week, because it's dealing with women and women's issues, but it's also very much going to be a dark, gritty cyberpunk noir series, I've sort of combined those two elements to coin a new genre called fempunk. So this will be essentially the first published novel in my personally coined fempunk genre. And I'm excited. I hope that it becomes a thing. If it doesn't ever become a thing, then oh well. Like, I'll be the only author like deliberately writing to that genre, and trying to mold and form and develop that into a genre with all its like tropes and expectations. And that's very okay with me. I really enjoy the idea of, a fempunk sort of just ethos. I think we need that. I think the world pretty much needs that in just in sci-fi in general. We don't have to sacrifice the hard sci-fi and the kick-ass cyberpunk elements just because we have women in it. We can combine the two. So that is one of my plans. But if you are looking to get a taste of what the Camille has to bring, definitely go check it out at the link below. Okay, I'll put that below in the description box. Okay, I'm going to check my little notes thing here because, as you guys know, I tend to do a lot during the week, so sometimes I can't really remember what I've done, when, how, and where. So I'm just gonna pull this up here. So for marketing, as I mentioned to you guys before, I just released the Camille. I haven't promoted it to my list yet, but that is on the docket. What else did I do for marketing? Let me look here. Oh, I don't have my binder with me, but I recently invested in the K-Lytics market reports for sci-fi fantasy together, and for the top 100 books that are out there right now. K-Lytics really provides a really interesting, very comprehensive statistical, quantitative and qualitative, sort of mildly qualitative analysis of what's going on in the book publishing market, specifically for Amazon.com. And I'm really excited to dive into it. Now, this is not to say that the K-Lytics data set and the way that they manage data, the way that they analyze the data is perfect. It's not. It does have its flaws. And I'm saying this as like a trained statistician and sociologist. So like, yeah, like don't just think I'm just sitting here trying to hate on K-Lytics. I'm not. They've done an excellent job, and they're using some really great techniques and tools. But I was discussing it actually with my author group, because we're kind of all nerds, and 3 out of 4 of us have had statistical training at some point or another. So we were talking about the strengths and the weaknesses of the data set. And ultimately, just giving K-Lytics an overview, they've done an excellent job. It's just that there aren't enough variables or variety in the data in order to necessarily justify a more extrapolated perspective. Okay, I'm sort of sorry. That's like jargon. What I'm trying to say is that there isn't enough information in the data set to make large sweeping generalizations about what the trends are and what they will be. I would say that at best, we probably have some really amazing descriptive statistics that have been pulled, which basically descriptive stats means basically, guys, that we can see what's happening in the market at a particular point in time with a particular group of people with a particular set of books. And like that data is valid. As for predictive data, which means that we're able to use the current information to predict where the market is going to go or predict how well a book is going to do, we need a different sets of information that we don't really have with K-Lytics. So, and this is not their fault. This is not me trashing K-Lytics. I'm just being honest with you as a statistician. There are a lot of requirements in order to put together a really comprehensive, fully formed data set that can be cleaned and also rigorously tested with different analyses. And I'm not particularly sure that K-Lytics has gotten that far yet, which is fine because most data sets don't get that far in terms of sampling, like the way that they choose data, the way that they choose authors to study, the way that they choose the books. A lot of it is not necessarily done in a way where we can, again, make predictions or make generalizations. So we have to be very careful with how we use the data. Having said all of that, being extremely nerdy, sorry if I turned some of you guys off for the past 2 minutes. Having said all of that, like I said, Klytics has done an excellent job of putting together these marketing reports. I would highly invest that you guys, as authors, and even as readers, actually, if you're interested in ever wanting to write, or if you're just a data nerd, to go and check out the Klytics reports. They give you 3 or 4 actually really awesome comprehensive reports on the market on Amazon.com for just under $40, which is incredible, honestly. I mean, even though the data set has its problems, I will be charging probably 10 times that much for those kinds of reports, because even if the data is not all complete, just the act of gathering, cleaning, coding, analyzing, comprehending, and then putting together all the reports and charts, like all that labor, in my opinion, is worth a lot more than what they're charging. So go check it out, Klytics.com. I will put a link below once they have an affiliate program going on. But I highly recommend you guys do get into that, because as far as good data goes, Klytics, I would say, is probably at the head of the pack right now. So definitely check that out. So that was a little bit of marketing nerdery. Sorry if I bored some of you guys out there, but it's really good to know all of these things as an indie publisher and an indie author. If you're somebody who just wants to write and then have their stuff out there, that is totally fine. That's totally cool. I totally get it. But if you really want to start understanding how to sell and market your work, you should be interested in at least some basic level in data and in seeing who is out there buying what, who is out there selling what, and what the trends are. Even if you can't predict what those trends will be, you can at least see what the trends are within certain parameters. Okay, nerd talk is over. I'm moving on, okay? The box set that I am a part of, not the 2054 box set, but the Uprising dystopian box set that I'm a part of, is well underway. We have about 12 authors, and we're all combining our powers together to put a really great dystopian box set together. I will either be including a novel I already have out called The Given, which many of you might have read already. But if not, that's great. It's a great opportunity for you to read it because it's a great novel. Or I might be including another novel that I'm working on, which is the debut novel in the Asylum series that I'm working on. So it really depends on whether or not I finish that novel in time. That's going to determine whether or not I include it in this box set. But that is underway, so and I think we're actually launching that in September, which is kind of insane, being that that's only about a month away. And the marketing plan for that is due today/tomorrow morning, and I'm in charge of putting together the marketing plan and then assigning all of the authors their marketing tasks. So I have to get on that. Lots of stuff actually going on in marketing for the past week and a half. And it's not all of it is glamorous, but it is necessary. Again, I'm an indie publisher as well as an indie author. So there you go. Okay. And I think that's it for marketing. Let's move on, because some of you might be bored as I don't know what. The Bohemian Badass, my work on that in the past week and a half has been really incredible and awesome. I actually took the past 3 days to step away from the Bohemian Badass because I've been just going so hard on that property, that company, in the past 2.5 months. And I just needed to kind of step away for a minute, even though I enjoyed pretty much every part of that process. And as a result, my graphic design and my web design skills continue to level up, which is amazing. But the good news is that the website in its basic foundations is done. And yay to me, I'm so excited. It's done, guys, and I'm super amped about that. And I just finished installing my online shop there. And really all that's left for me to do is to update the legal pages on my website, just fill in some other parts of my About Me section, including my portfolio, my biography. So those pages need to be filled in more. But for the most part, all my website needs at this point is content. So the blog posts, the vlogs, the tutorials, the courses, the worksheets, the podcast, the audio, all the different tools I'm going to create and use to help you guys learn how to become better writers in novel, in the novel field or in prose writing rather, as screenwriters, as TV writers, etc., etc., as comic writers. And I'm still trying to figure out some small details. For example, whether or not to include playwriting there. I haven't decided yet because I'm still kind of figuring out where my place is in the theater world. And if I feel as though I'm not gung-ho passionate about it, then I'm just like not going to teach it, because that's not really how I roll. I like to teach things and engage in things that I'm really passionate about, because what's the point otherwise, right? So the categories that will be available may vary to a certain extent, but we will definitely have novel writing as a creative track, so you can learn novel writing. You can not just novel writing, but also cinematic novel writing, which is how I roll. TV writing definitely will be on there. Screenwriting for sure. Game writing for sure. Game design. Comics and manga writing for sure. Although I will probably not be teaching that section at the Bohemian Badass, because ultimately I'm not really a comics writer. And it's not something that's in my wheelhouse, but it is something I'm interested in. And I'm interested in creating more comic writers, illustrators, and mangaka who are people of color. So that is something that I'm genuinely invested in. And as a result, I'll probably bring in pretty much all of my writer friends of color who are comic writers, because they're really great. And so they'll probably be teaching classes and writing blog posts and stuff like that for the blog, which is awesome. Playwriting may be on there. It really depends on whether or not I can get my playwriting and theater friends to lend a hand in those particular sections. And then we'll have eventually, not now, but eventually, courses on filmmaking, directing, producing. And then, of course, we'll have self-care for artists, which is an entire track of its own, because I feel like it's important. And then business and branding for artists, which I think every single artist should care about. It doesn't matter if you're a novelist, a TV or screenwriter, a film director, a producer. It doesn't even matter if you're a painter or a sculptor. I feel like everybody should learn the business side of their industry and also learn how to brand themselves on at least a basic level, so that they can have their own piece of real estate, not just digitally, but like physically, where they know what their mission is. They know what their brand colors are and what they represent. They know what they care about as artists. I think that that's important, at least on a basic level. So all those different tracks will be available. The Bohemian Badass will also be going into deep dives on genre. And if you look at my homepage, you'll see all the different genres available that will be taught at the Bohemian Badass, from action and combat to adventure and travel to dystopian, sci-fi with all the subgenres, fantasy with all the subgenres, including epic fantasy and urban fantasy, dark fantasy, etc., survival horror, survival fiction, lit RPG, and gaming lit. I mean, we have pretty much everything right now, probably except for romance. And I'm sorry about that. It's not that I won't have romance. It's just I have no idea how to teach romance because I don't write it yet. I will be writing it soon, probably in the coming months. But again, I do sort of a teach as teach can model on my blog, which is that I don't teach anything that I don't know. And when I start a journey, I make it clear that I am a neophyte on a particular journey and that I'm sharing my journey with you, because I feel like I do have expertise in certain areas, and that's fine. But the areas that I don't have expertise in, I want to be very clear that I don't have expertise in those areas, right? And romance is just not one of those areas that I'm as familiar with. So right now, it's not available at the Bohemian Badass, but I will be making it available. And as a matter of fact, that's what I'll probably do for the rest of the day today, is add an entire romance section and an entire romance genre, because it's necessary, especially if they're going to be female writers of color, female writers of disenfranchised communities and things like that. A lot of us tend to write more romance, even if it's sci-fi romance, paranormal romance, fantasy romance. A lot of us write romance. So it makes 0 cents to not have that available at thebohemianbadass.com. So I will actually end up adding that today. But long story short, because I tend to ramble, thebohemianbadass.com is looking really great. I'm really excited. Just have to finish up, again, a couple of those pages and then optimizing the site for mobile, for both phone and tablet. And then we'll pretty much be ready and rearing to go come August 27th, 28th / September 1st. So just prepare for that. So that is coming, and I'm super excited about that. Okay. So yeah, made a lot of great progress with that. I was even more excited to actually establish the online WooCommerce store, which is going to be amazing. We don't have any products to sell, but it's still cool that I was able to configure that all by myself, because that is not easy. Let's see. Oh, one other thing that I did just quickly is that as I've been developing the books of Ezekiel, not only as a novel series, but as a television series, I have been able to produce lots of worksheets, particularly in the past week and a half, on developing a TV concept, from concept all the way until like episode level. And so I just want to let you guys know that I am still working on those TV writing development courses, and that I have at least, let's see, 20 pages of worksheets. I mean, like, it's gonna be lit, just on and I've only done, this is only a rough draft of these worksheets as well that I've done in Word, but I really think that these worksheets, this workbook that I'm putting together for developing a TV series independently, is going to really help you guys to turn your ideas into actual TV series and TV Bibles that you can pitch to producers or studios or production houses, or that you can then use to hopefully make your own stuff independently, which is what the Bohemian Badass is interested in, really. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that. That's on and popping. And so just stay tuned for that. That might be one of the first products we end up offering at The Bohemian Badass, honestly. Okay, let's move on. Self-care has been on fleek, and I actually will talk to you guys about that in a minute when I talk to you more about the title of this podcast, which is Cleansing Your Creative Palette. Okay, we'll get into all of that. But the thing that kicked off me being in such a great mood, me feeling very empowered this week, and just me feeling more at peace was, again, refocusing on my self-care. Not just the physical self-care, although that's been going really well. Okay, guys, like I've just FYI, I have lost nearly 9 pounds since starting like my new whole regimen. Which is great. It's not like I was like, crazily overweight before, but I really wanted to, like I said, up level my health and my fitness. If you guys have been following me for like the past 6 months to a year, you know that was like a goal that I set in January, and I'm achieving it, and it's great. And it's not just about like slimming down. It's also about like bulking up, just like, I don't know, like muscle wise. I don't know if like my muscles are big enough right now to like to really be showing them off like that. But it's been going really great. And as a part of that, though, not just the physical aspect, but also the emotional and spiritual aspect, I've just been really retreating back into myself to figure out what it is I love to do, what it is I want to do creatively. And that has been such an important journey for me in terms of figuring out that I was falling out of love with my creativity because I was focused more on the product versus the process. And I've been talking about product and process for like the past month, but it's important to keep restating that particular concept, because now that I realized that I wasn't enjoying the process, I have been able to basically reboot and revamp how I approach my process so that now I'm starting to enjoy it. And a part of me having to figure out how to enjoy my process again was to take a step back from the process. And so that is how I took care of myself this past week. was by stepping back from that entire process of writing novels, publishing novels, perfecting novels, and selling novels. And not only just step away and just take a breath, but also do something different. So as a result, basically for the past week and a half, I've been doing something completely different, which I was actually into. I started getting into this in 2006, I believe. It was like 2005, 2006. So about 13 years ago, I got into this. I first got into this. And then I picked this back up in 2013. And now I'm picking it back up again. So it's very interesting to see, like, every 5 to 8 years, me cycling back to this. But I have recently resurrected my interest in fashion design. And again, it's something I picked up in 2005 when I was working and saving up to finish the rest of my schooling. But that has been a very interesting journey. It's like I've jumped forward in a different direction, but then I've also jumped backward to remind myself of all the things I learned like over 10 years ago about fashion. And that has been just wonderful. As you guys know, I'm enrolled in masterclass.com, and I've taken Marc Jacobs' fashion design class and also Diane von Furstenberg's Building a Fashion Brand class. Yeah, it's called Building a Fashion Brand Masterclass. And those have been really, I actually really love Diane's class a lot more than Marc Jacobs, and I'll tell you in just a second why. But those classes in general have been really great for just helping me to kind of take a breath and like step back and step into something new and to enjoy a new creative process, which has been wonderful. And it's also helped me to think about how I'm going to expand the Rebel Ragdoll brand, right? So, and the thing is that what's crazy about this is that as a part of Rebel Ragdoll's original plan, there was always a fashion and accessories sort of outlet and arm of Rebel Ragdoll. It's just that I wasn't really ready to explore that avenue, and I'm still not really ready to explore that avenue professionally. But in terms of just engaging with it on a casual, really creative, low pressure, low expectation, really fun way, that has been really great for me, just exploring that again. And when I'm ready, if I'm ready, I will eventually turn my exploration of fashion design into an official business arm of Rebel Ragdoll. But for now, it's just a hobby. It's just something I'm doing, just to, again, cleanse my creative palette, take a step back, and to get into a process-oriented mindset where I can start enjoying creative processes rather than focus on the product. And that's another reason why I'm not trying to officially turn this into like the next Coco Chanel fashion brand or whatever. I don't need this to be incorporated yet. I don't need this to be a thing yet. For right now, it's just a hobby. And it's a hobby that costs under $100 to invest in. I got like a little cute, cheap sewing machine, a couple of sewing books, like a fashion design industry book, a sketching book, and that's it. It's going to be those things plus me, plus a bunch of YouTube and Google tutorials, and then from there, it will grow eventually. But exploring the world of fashion, again, has been such a palette cleanser for me creatively, and I'm just really grateful that I have the opportunity to do those kinds of things. And it's just been a really interesting journey. I realized that there's a lot for me to learn there, and that's fine. Again, I don't feel the high pressure need to learn anything quickly or like immediately. And it's nice kind of entering a field as a total newbie and baby with some fresh ideas and just be able to explore and frolic, which is what I talked about on my last podcast, like the ability to frolic and the freedom to frolic. And being able to do that and really cultivate that side of my creativity has done gangbusters for my other creative pursuits. Like, I was able to sit down for the first time in like 2 weeks and just write hollow point without kicking myself or being angry at myself or being high pressured towards myself. And like, I literally enjoyed the process of writing. I enjoyed the art of telling a story. Like, it was just wonderful. Like, reteaching myself how to enjoy a process by going on a new and different path and exploring new creative pursuits, taking those lessons from that new creative pursuit, I've been able to take those and apply those to novel writing, which is great. So this exploration of a new field, even though it looks crazy because I have all these different brands that I'm working on and things like that, has been really reinvigorating for myself as a writer, as a novelist, as a screenwriter, as a TV writer. Not that I needed much encouragement for TV writing, because that is, again, a creative pursuit in which I'm still enjoying the process. I'm not really focused on the product for TV writing, because the ultimate product is a TV series, and just realistically, my mind can't really wrap around like, just the massiveness of such a project, of such an end product. So I don't even entertain the product right now for TV writing. So it's a lot easier for me to stay in the process and in the zone when it comes to developing a TV series, because a lot of it really is about process at this point in time. Whereas with novel writing, because I have produced a few products that are novel products that are, I wouldn't say easy to produce, but that are more accessible in terms of production, because it doesn't really cost that much nowadays to create a novel. Writing is free. The software is pretty much free. Editing and cover design and typesetting and things like that aren't free, but they're really cheap nowadays. And if you're just writing for yourself and publishing for yourself, you then don't really need those things. I would not encourage you to not have an editor, but if you really are just publishing just for yourself, just to say that you wrote a book, then you probably don't really care about all those other things. So you could probably just get away with doing those things for free, or having like a friend edit your book, and then transforming that file into an ebook is free. Distribution on Amazon.com and Kobo.com and BarnesandNoble.com and iBooks, all those platforms are free. Everything is essentially free. So it's a lot easier to put pressure on yourself to produce a really great product, because the product is so attainable, both financially and just time-wise. A whole TV series, that's attainable, but that takes a lot of different steps and a lot of sort of hustling through each step, especially through the financing stage. And so, again, there's less pressure on myself to produce a perfect product of something I've never done before, and of something that is completely out of my reach right now. So TV writing has been a very process-oriented thing, and so that's been enjoyable. Same thing with fashion design right now. It's still very process-oriented. Game writing and game design, to a certain extent, are also, for me, very process-oriented, although those feel more attainable every day with all the software and distribution that we have available. That's the thing. It's like, once distribution and the means of production become cheaper, that's when the pressure to create a perfect product becomes more and gets heavier. And so staying out of that mindset of of having product has been really helpful for me, and it's helped me to, again, relearn to love the process of novel writing, which, again, can be very easily converted into a product focused endeavor. So yeah, guys, like fashion design, and actually, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I cheated a little bit, not cheated, but like, I stepped a little bit into product, I guess, a few days ago, because I did come up with my fashion designer name, which I will not reveal on this podcast. I will not actually reveal anything that's going on with that particular endeavor beyond this podcast, because that is something I want to play close to the chest for a variety of reasons. But I did come up with my designer name, and I did already reserve the domain name, and I came up with at least the name and the concept, the core concept and the core story for, I would say, the first 3 fashion lines. So that's really exciting for me. I haven't produced any pieces yet, haven't sketched anything, haven't developed any collections yet, but that's definitely on its way. I've also, what is that website called? I've also registered on, what is this? I'm going to check because I want to let you guys know what this website is about. But Polyvore, if you guys are not familiar with Polyvore, used to be a website wherein you could put together different cute outfits, clothes, dresses, shirts, shoes, accessories, bags, jewelry, things like that, makeup shades, and you could create cute little fashion collections and fashion sets on there. And they unfortunately, well, fortunately for them, but unfortunately for us, got bought by this place called Essence. And Essence removed that option to create fashion collections. And so there's another website out called fashmates.com that I'm also using, that I'm using now to start exploring, again, just in a creative, fun, low pressure, no pressure way, exploring the different ways in which you can put clothes and colors and textures together and create fashion sets. And so that's another tool I will be using, a free tool, mind you, that I will be using to explore my fashion sense and explore my voice as a designer. So that's really exciting. And I don't want you guys to get worried that I'm not going to focus on my novels or my TV stuff. I still am, definitely. But just having these little smaller endeavors just to kind of take a break so I can use those things to take a break from, my grind is really helpful for me, and will eventually become something that I know will be successful when I'm ready to start turning those creative endeavors into actual products. The same thing with the Blackheart Boudoir, the Blackheart Bakery, the Blackheart Boutique, Blackheart Books, the Blackheart Boulange. Like, that entire brand is still very much on the table, FYI. It's just that had to be shelved for other reasons temporarily. But like, developing the brand, developing the perspective, developing the product line was really fun and a really lovely way to kind of break away from the grind of doing the other things that I do, which I'm trying to make I'm trying to make those things not be a grind. But all of my creative endeavors, I feel, will eventually come together into a solidified, successful, profitable business brand. It's just realistically, I can't put my 100% into everything, right? So those will have to be like one-off things. So everything is still on the table. The Blackheart Boudoir and Blackheart Boulange brand, that's on the table. The fashion brand is on the table. What else am I doing? New Adult Noir is still on the table. I'm not really sure where I want to go with that, because the more recent changes in data protection and email service protection has changed the way in which I can run giveaways. And that's actually a good thing, but I haven't really figured out how I'm going to bring that value to my readers yet, while also respecting all of the new rules. It can be done. I just want to do it in a way that's unique and, just really awesome and convenient and just a good experience for my readers. So until I reconfigure that brand, it's going to have to stay on hiatus, unfortunately, which sucks because I planned on reopening it this summer. But push come to shove, I hadn't really figured out how I'm going to manage the brand yet. So that's still on the table, although on hiatus. What else is on the table? Rebel Ragdoll Productions, obviously still on the table. Rebel Ragdoll Press has always been up and running and still is. Chick Rogue Studios is up and coming. Game design, yay, excited about that. The Bohemian Badass, as you guys know, is like pretty much, ready to go and is going to be launching at some point late August, early September. And I went through all the other things. The Dollhouse Foundation is definitely still on point. And I actually created a list of video series that I wanted to do for the foundation's inspirational blog the other day. I'm just unsure as to how I should manage the social media outreach for that. And I'll talk about the Dollhouse Foundation on a different podcast. But what I'm noticing, especially because it's established to support and to love on and to just, really push to the top single mothers, especially creative single mothers. What I'm noticing in the online community is that there are a lot of people who are out there trying to attack single moms. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to do this and to support my people, so to speak, while also protecting myself from all the psycho doxers out there, the psycho women haters. I mean, you'd be surprised as to how many people get offended at single women, single mothers, single women empowering themselves, at Black women and women of color empowering themselves. Like, people get really in their feelings about that. And, I've just heard some horror stories about, certain vloggers and bloggers who are being threatened, like, physically, verbally, digitally, who are getting death threats, who are just getting like all these trolls. And so it's not that I'm afraid of the trolls. It's just I need to be able to protect myself and my brands from these trolls, especially because my Dollhouse Foundation brand is about empowering women and empowering single mothers and empowering single mothers of color specifically. So, it's just about sort of how to position myself with that. But everything is on the table in conclusion. So I don't want you guys to worry that I'm just leaving all these other things behind. I'm not. But like I said, because the title of this podcast is called Cleansing Your Creative Palette, these are the things that I am doing to cleanse my creative palette when I need a break from something that I'm working hardcore on. So just wanted to put that out there for you guys. What else have I done? Speaking of writing and publishing and cleansing the creative palette, you guys know that I have one brand as an author, Colby R. Rice, at colbyrrice.com. There's another brand that I will be releasing, not right now, obviously, but another author brand that I will be sort of debuting. It will be an anonymous brand, and I will not be stating the author's name, which is my other pen name on this podcast, for a bunch of reasons. One, because I don't want the also buts getting, mixed up and befuddled. Secondly, because they're in two different genres. One is going to be pretty much hardcore sci-fi and fantasy and horror. The other one's going to be romance and probably erotica as well. And three, because if I ever have to, I don't want to have to go out in the world and work for other people per se, because you guys know that I'm like all about entrepreneurship and owning a business. But I will go out and look for jobs when necessary, when I graduate, if this is not off the ground the way it needs to be. But I don't want anybody to like Google my name, like my real name, and see that I'm writing erotica. Not because I actually have a problem with it or I'm ashamed of it, but people tend to judge you because apparently you can't write romance or erotica and also be like a responsible teacher or a responsible politician or whatever. You know what I'm saying? People have these very weird ways of pigeonholing people, other people, and judging people. So, it's just about, again, being a little bit more conscientious of how I build my online brands and how I allow those brands to either stand on their own or cross-pollinate. And I've been thinking, especially because I'm graduating soon, I want to be very careful about the ways in which I allow my multiple identities to cross-pollinate. And I would also suggest that you guys be careful about that too. If you do plan on going out into the world and working for other people, it sucks, but it's like people will judge you based on certain things that you do outside of work, even if those things are completely harmless. And you shouldn't not do those things, but you should just be more conscientious again about mixing all those identities together, right? Because in most people's minds, a lot of people have a really hard time with nuanced thinking and critical thinking, and don't know how to separate the fact that, wow, this person is a really great worker and statistician, or whatever it is you're doing, or a great professor, but they also write these really amazing, sexy erotica novels, or these really sweet romances, or these really hardcore, kick-ass sci-fi novels. Like, they just don't want to accept that you are a multitude of things. And I've had that experience multiple times in my personal life, so I can speak on that very, very personally. But I don't want you guys to have to like ever deal with that or go through that. So just be smart with how you choose to establish your brands, and whether or not you choose to cross-pollinate your brands online in the public eye. Let's see. Is there anything else? I told you guys about the Camille. I told you guys about the brand identity that I'm building that's separate from Kobe R. Rice. I talked to you guys about exploring in fashion. I talked to you about the Bohemian Badass and marketing. TV writing, I already told you guys that I'm working on the Ezekiel series, which is going really great actually right now. I'm really excited about it. The only thing, honestly, right now is that I don't really know where to start the season. You know, I'm starting the first pilot and season right now, where the first book of Ezekiel starts. But the backstory, like the season that came before this season, is also so juicy and interesting and awesome and just sexy and high octane and badass. I'm just like, I want to write that season too. So I'm trying to figure out if I should start the Ezekiel series at season 0 and then just go forward, or if I should just start the Books of Ezekiel TV series at the same place that the first novel starts, and then just do flashbacks to season 0. You know what I'm saying? I haven't figured that out yet, and I think it's really just going to take me writing both in order to see what works the best. So it's not a bad problem to have, guys. I'm not complaining. It's just, that's just where I am right now. Either way, the development of the entire property is moving forward, and so that's a great thing. Let's see, what else am I? I'm looking at my notes. So if I'm not looking at you guys, it's nothing personal. That's pretty much it. That's all I've been working on for TV writing, actually. And then, like I said, I sat down for the first time in 2 weeks and actually wrote on Hollow Point. It was actually yesterday. That was exciting. That was great. And, great news. Before I get into like the last bit of news, Rebel Ragdoll Press and The Bohemian Badass, the LLCs, the actual incorporated entities, have officially been incorporated. Yay! So I'm excited. So finally, I have those 2 LLCs incorporated, so I can do business and under those 2 names and get my money where it's supposed to go if and when it starts to come in. Because as an artist, when you start to grow, it's really important to start protecting your assets, whatever those assets are. Right now, all I'm trying to like protect are my personal assets, like keep those separate from my business assets. That's what I really am interested in. And so that is pretty exciting that those 2 companies have been established. I'm just thrilled about it. And I can't wait to see how they're going to grow. I mean, I'm going to have to eventually dissolve them and then reincorporate when I move back home to New York. But for now, I'm excited. It's going to be great, and I'm amped. And then lastly, I did sort of, I wouldn't say reboot, but I restarted the dramaturgy train. Because as you guys know, I will be restarting graduate school. Boo-hoo-hoo. In just 3 weeks. I cannot believe it's only 3 weeks until like I have to be back. I kind of want to cry a little bit. But as my graduate school and its final year approaches, I've become a lot less nervous about how that's going to roll and how it's going to shake out. And so that's pretty great. You know, I feel actually really calm and relaxed. I do have my first directing opportunity coming up. Not my first, but like the first one of the year, of the semester, coming up in late August, and it will stretch all the way out, all the way throughout September, and then we open the first weekend of October, and so that's gonna be pretty cool. I actually expect it to be kind of chill and like not crazy, which is great. And as a result of sort of me gearing up for that, I have, reached back out to my playwrights who, are pretty much done with their works. And we're just sort of all preparing to get this train up and running. And so I say all that to say that I have slowly but surely started just returning the gears, the graduate school gears, so that, by the time, August 20th comes around, I'm pretty much running on all cylinders and running quickly and smoothly. So I have been preparing sort of mentally and physically and intellectually for getting back into the graduate school mindset. And the big things this semester, in addition to that directing opportunity and my final real class, basically the two big things that I have coming up for this semester for graduate school are working on my master's thesis and also taking my comps, which will happen in December of this year. So that will be a lot to celebrate when I make it through, if I make it through, inshallah, to the end of the year after I pass my comps. That will be a major achievement, because by then, not only will I have basically knocked out most of my requirements for graduate school, but I hope, at least it's my goal, to have my master's thesis pretty much done. And when I say pretty much done, I don't mean that it's ready to deposit immediately, but that the bulk of it is written, and all I'm doing right now is editing and, whittling down and, strengthening weak points and things like that. Like, I want a comprehensive draft of my thesis, some comprehensive, first drafts of like my diagrams and everything that I need to deal with around Shakespeare. I want all that done by the time I go on my December break, so I can focus on my comps during December break, and I can ring in the new year basically having a fat finished rough draft of my master's thesis, a finished comp, and then all I'm doing in my spring semester really is packing, preparing to go back to New York City, and then editing my thesis. So that's pretty much what I've been sort of gearing up for in this last week. And that's it, guys. I don't really have anything else going on. I'm just really excited to, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just really excited to like just be here, like in existence and alive and just doing great. Things are going really well, just in all aspects of life, honestly. I'm happy with the growth that I've made on all these different fronts. And I've proven to myself that what I focus on will grow, and that I'm really the only thing at this point standing in the way, standing between myself and the things that I want to achieve. Not just, as a creative or a business owner, etc., but also just as a person, achieve for myself, like physically, spiritually, emotionally, as a mom, just as growth, as a growing person. And so it's just been a really great week and a half. And I think that my epiphany on process versus product has really helped me to just open up and to grow and to let go of the reins a little bit more, if you know what I mean. And that has been such a blessing for me, because now I'm enjoying everything so much more. And I'm able to see myself again, like less as this thing that needs to be pushed towards perfection, and more of less as a product that needs to be pushed towards perfection, and more as a process. So it's like I've just even started to see myself as a process, which is important for perfectionists like me, So that's basically it, guys. I'm gonna spend the rest of the day enjoying my day and working on processes as need be, working on my creativity, going where my creative spirit wants to go, and not really thinking about the product or feeling badly about it, because again, the process is really all that we have. And just a FYI, if you guys feel like I'm being a little bit too woo-woo, I get that. The product is still very much there and it's still very much something I want to get to. But I finally feel as though I'm approaching a place where the process is way more important to me. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy the process of writing, enjoy the process of developing a TV series, enjoy the process of creating, blog posts and vlogs and worksheets and courses for the Bohemian Badass. Enjoy the process of web design and graphic design. Enjoy the process of fashion design. Enjoy the process of brand building and business building, because I really actually enjoy the logistics of that as well. Just enjoying the process and just getting my life, basically, is what I'm trying to do. So having said that, guys, I'm going to be out of here. I feel like I've rambled enough. I don't even know if this podcast really means anything or if it really went anywhere. It sounds a little bit, woo-woo, which is fine, Maybe next week I'll be a little bit more organized. But in the meantime, boos, take care of yourselves, okay? Be indie, stay badass, keep creating, and I'll talk to you guys next week. And also, enjoy the process. Okay. Bye.